Hi and welcome back to Feral Manor. As you can tell, it's a little bit coldy this morning, although the sun I think is trying to break through, which means we will have yet another glorious autumn day. This episode's all about getting covered up and getting things prepared for the oncoming winter season. So we'll be talking cloches and not the hats. We're talking about things that we put over our plants in the garden. And we're also going to start working on moving some of our more vulnerable plants that are in pots, which is basically all of our citrus, in under tree cover. It's a big day for me in the garden because I am finally getting to plant my Hellebores, which arrived the other day. And despite the fact it said get them in the ground as soon as possible, I just have been too busy to do that. So that is a major job today. So get your gloves and let's get going. We've had these winter crops in the wings for quite a while as seedlings, so we're finally getting around to getting them in the ground. Steve is planting out some brassicas and I'm planting out some of my beetroot. Unlike regular beetroot, these ones actually come up with just one seed, not multiple seeds. Apparently it was a mutation that was found in a commercial crop, and it's actually one of the varieties that the commercial growers use quite frequently. Steve has been planting out the garlic out the front, and these are the actual garlic cloves that we saved from our garlic that we harvested last year. As you can see, these peas have grown in one of the Hessian seed snails. Wow. Just look at those roots. These are well and truly ready to get in the ground. Where are the fingernails you need when you don't have them? So yeah, I'm going to spread them through this bed. Most of this stuff, barring, the tarragon's going to die down, the rocket will probably live. I actually have a couple of paprika seedlings in here and I really want to overwinter them, but this is the tricky bit. I don't particularly want to take them out of this bed. Yeah, that's probably the one thing about the Hessian as opposed to the bubble wrap seed snails is some of the roots are definitely sticking in the Hessian. It's just going to be as it is. They will have to come out as they are. Try and be as delicate as I can with them. And the other thing, of course, is they've been growing together, so they've all managed to tie in their little tendrils. They're all a bit floppy. I didn't do a really good water of them. I don't think it's quite been enough. Anyway, we will see. The roots are great though. And because I managed to hack through the watering system here, I'm going to have to hand water these. There's no automatic watering system now. There's just one more thing I have to plant this afternoon. And this is my second 9-star perennial broccoli plant. This one was the one that got really badly attacked in transit. Unbeknownst to the grower, there were cabbage white butterfly larvae or eggs, and unfortunately, because they were bored on the long trip, they decided to eat my plant. But as you can see, it's come back quite nicely. So I just think it's better off in the ground than sitting in a pot and getting forgotten over winter. And hopefully that will go really well. And I'm really pleased to see up here that I've also got some red mustard, self-sown red mustard, and a couple of self-sown bok choys. So a bit of a win all round, I think. I actually have a couple of paprika seedlings in here and I really want to overwinter them, but this is the tricky bit. I don't particularly want to take them out of this bed. I feel that they're like too small. I mean, in some ways that might actually be better. I could pull them out and repot them and let them grow somewhere else. But I figured that I actually would prefer to get them growing where they are. Now, I know the chances are pretty slender for these to survive winter, but I'm going to give it a crack. So, I'm going to make myself a cloche. This is a cover for the plants and should help protect them from the frost. Now, not sure how effective they're going to be. I've bought some polycarbonate sheeting and I'm just going to make square boxes. Well, squarish boxes, being it's me making them. Often you'll see traditional ones around, and I have actually seen plastic ones, including plastic ones with vents, but frankly, I just can't see any single plastic being sufficiently protective against a good Canberra frost. Given that we go down to -5 regularly, -7 every so often, I just don't see how a single shell plastic thing is going to keep a plant warm under those circumstances. So we've opted for polycarbonate sheeting. We're inspired to make the cloches because we saw a really good video by Suburban Homestead on how to do it. And so we're roughly following their suggestions. Now, we'll quickly show you the process. The main thing is just literally cutting it into reasonable size pieces that you can manage. Ours are, as I say, roughly 20 by 20 centimetres, and because we were going with a thicker grade polycarbonate, we did need to use a saw, which proved, an interesting experience. But we've got them all cut in the end, and the tricky thing I found is not so much the cutting, but the sticking them together. Now, as suggested by Suburban Homestead, we used gaffer tape. And this is great, although sometimes the stretchiness of the tape can be an issue. But the main thing I'd say is you must tape your sections, as you can see, butt join them, i.e. side to side, touching each other, and sticking down those first 4 sheets together with gaffer tape. And that is actually the inside of the box. You've got to do this first. Believe me, I tried the other way and it does not work. Once the inside is all joined up and you actually have a square, I found putting a wooden block into the corner as I was taping the outer edges just to help keep the shape. So trying to make sure that just keep it as square as possible. The sheets are sold as 60 centimetres by 120 centimetres, but there's actually an extra centimetre leeway. So as a result, our final cut from each sheet was more rectangular than it was square, which turned out to be a good thing because that's what I use for the lids. Again, I followed the same process. I tried, and this was the trickiest part, to get the inside of the lid stuck to the box. And one of the things I say, at 20 centimetres, I could just get both of my hands in, and it was incredibly fiddly and a pain in the neck to get this done. So I would suggest that you try not to make anything smaller than 20 centimetres. So despite all of the dodgy edges and measurements and sawing, actually come up with 3 workable cubes. We've been popping these over the paprika over the past couple of days where we have been dipping down below 0, and so far so good. The paprika are looking great, although of course, as I say, whether they're going to survive a -5 with this is another matter. You do need, if it's going to be a sunny day, to actually come along and take those cloches off your plants. I discovered that by mistake. I found some very sad looking paprika because I forgot to move them one day until well after lunchtime, and the plants were quite wilted by the heat that was trapped inside those cloches. So as the season progresses, I'll give you an update on how well or how not well the paprika are doing under their cloches. Well, as you can see, the sun has come out and I'm already starting to get hot, so I'm going to move on with the hellebore planting. And if you haven't seen these before, These are fruit washing trays, something you find a lot in the Riverina and popular, you know, sort of vintage rustic decor things. I already had a couple, and on a recent trip into rural Victoria I was able to score a couple more. So the other thing I'm doing is I'm just putting a bit of coir in the bottom, just a bit of coir sheeting, and I think with all the holes you're going to see the drainage is going to be really good on these. Now, why hellebores? Hellebores are a plant that flowers in winter, which is very unusual in itself, and loves being in the full sun in winter and can take the frosts from Canberra. So it means that I will actually have flowers happening through winter, and I'll also be adding some violas and pansies into some of these pots. I'm going to get the rest of the coir cut and get some soil into these and get my hellebores planted. I have 2 black hellebores. I have 1 green spotted, 1 Hercegovinus black, which has got a very different sort of leaf shape, more than colour to the others, and I've also got a Primrose Yellow. So they're the ones I'll be planting today. The other thing too I'm going to be planting with them is I've picked up a number of violas. I've got yellow, I've got tiger eye yellow, and I've got these pansies which are called orange queen. So very dramatic dark purple and orange, which goes perfectly with the colour scheme in the garden. There we go. Pretty tightly wrapped roots. Just spread these out a little bit. This is my Primrose Yellow hellebore. They all certainly have a really good root system on them. All the details of the plants will be in the descriptions below. Right, now I've just got to get the rest of them planted and get the violas in, and we'll be done. Thanks for joining us here today. It's been lovely to have you as always, and we hope to see you next time. Catch you later. Bye.